What's going on, friends and followers? Michael McFarland here, the Lake Fork Guide. I told you I possibly won't give you a Friday rundown, and I'm actually trying hard to come through and still make my word and have 3 rundowns a week. Um, Even though I'm absolutely exhausted, I can hardly see straight. It's really been a long, tough week so far. Big wins. It's been really unique. First, let's tell you about the lake. It is an awesome condition right now. Many times in the past few years, this time of year, I have seen it be much more dirty. I've seen it be more orange juice looking, and an entirety, meaning not just up in the northern arms. We're probably going to get some floods in the next couple, 2, 3, 4 weeks or so that will make that happen. I hope not, but this is going to be one of the clearest that I've ever seen the main lake, mid lake, and south potentially this year. It's looking great. Even though I talk about 0 to 1 foot visibility, that's mostly in your upper northern ends, which are really even starting to clear up too. If you see some of that dirty water, if you get behind it or you get shallow and look shallow, you realize that it's not as dirty as it appears. It's really settling. This is the best thing. The water level has not only stabilized, I've shut the gate, it's climbing back up just a little bit. So between stabilization and a little bit of rise, the fish are coming in. And I guarantee you, I promise you, the males are in. There are males everywhere. Not every single cove, not throughout the whole lake. It's still in exclusive, special areas only. Well, where are those areas, you say? Where the warmest water is. If you find 60 and 63 degree water, I guarantee you most likely there are males back in there. Okay? Right now, the parameters of the main lake are 53 degrees. Backwaters and warmest water I've found is 63. How many times have I talked about when the main lake reaches 54 degrees, the lake's going off? Mark Pack taught us all that. 54 in the main lake coming out of winter, getting warmer and warmer. When we hit 54 in the main basin, stabilized 54, it's game on. We're right on the brink. We have a new moon tonight. So it didn't have the wave that I thought we would have, but there are fish on beds. There are a few guys that have already caught one. Mr. Eric Wright, one of our best bed fishing guides out there, he's already had a client catch an 8.5 pounder from a bed. Nice work, Eric Wright. How about this? Yesterday, Danny Holder, another awesome guide on this lake, has a client catch the first share lunker from Lake Fork, 13 pounds, 6 ounces, number 598 shared lunker. Awesome. Lake Fork's about to show out as the goat lake. Remember, the reason that I call it the goat lake, greatest of all times, is it's the grandma. All those fish in Ivy, they came, thank Lake Fork for it. The gene pool program, the Texas Parks and Wildlife Share a Lunker program, begin with Lake Fork, and it's all those fish throughout the entire state came from the mamas, the grandmas, and Mother Fork, the goat lake. 54 of Texas' top 75 bass come from the Goat Lake. 8 of the top 10 state biggest bass come from the Goat Lake. Lake Fork, Northeast Texas. My home, my favorite lake. I love it, and so should you. Don't let tough fishing on Lake Fork deter you, and don't let anyone tell you that it's dead. Here's what we're doing. By the way, yesterday, my client, I hate to talk about lost fish, but we lost one of those goats. The bite right now, the best big fish bite is going to be a spinnerbait or a chatterbait. I'm going to tell you about how to do it in a second. Ideally, the bite should be a lot more aggressive, but because it's still cold and cool and really transitioning, it's right on the brink. The fish are still a bit lethargic, and most of the strikes on the chatterbait you do not feel. It just gets mushy. So it's better to have a softer rod, a softer tip. When that rod gets mushy and it feels like a wet sponge got on there, just reel, load the rod, and keep the rod loaded. Yesterday we failed to do that and lost an absolute brutal big mama. She was so big she couldn't get out of the water. All she did was a big old head jaw, like Jaws, the movie Jaws. Ha, ha, ha. Threw that chatterbait right at us and was gone. But she was all head, mouth, and belly. Biggin', okay? Remember, It's a mushy bite. Reel into it and load that rod. All right. Doesn't really matter on colors on chatterbaits. I'm tending to use a little darker colors. I'm using green pumpkins, green pumpkin oranges, green pumpkin chartreuses. Yes, white on white is hard to beat. Danny Holder's client caught that 13.6 on a white chatterbait. But there's a new chatterbait that I want you to think about. All right. And it is actually made, again, by, it's not new brand. It's the Jackhammer. Chatterbait Jackhammer. It's really the Z-Man Jackhammer. Evergreen from Japan and Z-Man put together. But this is called the Stealth. There's two things about this. It's a clear plastic blade, and it does not contact the head. So it's not as obnoxious. It's a lot more subtle. And some of these coves are just getting driven by boat after boat after boat after boat. Throw them something different. All right, that's the first tip. It doesn't have to be the Stealth Jackhammer. I'm just planting a seed. Throw them something a little different than what they're seeing by the hundreds. And here's exactly how and what I'm doing. The first thing I'm doing is taking a Strike King cutter worm, and I'm going and finding areas that have the bucks, the males. I'm going about halfway back in the dirtier creeks in the warmer water. Once I found the warmest water, I start pitching and flipping. And you gotta go slow, 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 slow. Once I get an area where I get a few bites from this, okay? Once I know there's some males, I back off, okay? I now get parallel to the bank. This is the key. Being parallel to the bank puts the bait in the strike zone of the cruising females. The males are up on the nest. I've talked about this before. The females come into those legs, those spawning ground legs, and cruise in and out, in and out. They're inspecting, they're checking things out. They haven't committed to it yet. So if you'll find the males, they're in 2 to 5 feet of water. Get in the 6 to 10 feet of water just outside of a group of males. Stay parallel with a chatterbait and or a big old willow leaf spinnerbait. All right? 1/2 ounce willow leaf spinnerbait. A little bit of gold in there is very important in that blade. That is where you'll get the bigger fish. If you're in the kayak tournament, that's where you'll catch those slots. Small bucks and young ones up, just back off just the tiniest bit. That's my best tip for you right now. Halfway back in the warmest water you can find, fish those spawning grounds. Males are up, females are cruising. I'm Mike McFarland, man. I really appreciate y'all watching. Thank you so much for all the thumbs up, all the awesome comments. I'm running into you guys all over the place, or I should say you're running into me. And man, it just makes my day to know that I've helped you and our relationship is super tight. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Michael McFarland, the Lake Fork Guide, giving you a Lake Fork rundown. Great fishing. Someone sent me some pics of some big ones this weekend.